Good afternoon, Nick. It's great to see you again. I'm here to try to update everything going on with Gr8ter veterans and get your idea of what's happened over the last few years. I recall us meeting almost 6 years ago when you started thinking about incorporating Gr8ter veterans to the environment of the veteran service organizations, and you had a great vision for where you wanted to head. Can you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to start Gr8ter veterans and what Gr8ter veterans is trying to do now?
All right, well, being a Spokane guy originally and, doing an overseas tour in Kosovo, when I got out, there was nothing like Gr8ter veterans out there, and I knew it was needed. It saved my life. I tried the services, on myself, so I know they work. We've worked with a lot of vets since then and gotten a lot of great feedback locally and nationally. And I think it might be the remedy to a lot of the issues in the vet community right now. A lot of veteran empowerment involved.
Well, I totally agree. And what captured my interest in you and the organization very early on was your exuberance for the mission and the mission to take care of these veterans across the board, regardless of service, regardless of background, regardless of what it is that they needed. And your vision for setting up, in particular, the EVAC, Every Veterans Activity Center. Could you explain a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so Every Veterans Assistance Center was something I came up with. The word EVAC, from your background as well, means getting out of a bad situation into a good. And I thought, what better way, to bring in a veteran that's having a hard time in life or with a set thing, whether it be, filing a VA claim, fellowship with other veterans, getting back in shape, starting a business, whatever. We bring them in there where it's a safe haven for them and their family, where we have some community integration so that they're not stuck on Vet Island by themselves. I think it's going to save a lot of lives and do a lot of good.
Indeed. It's a very holistic way of looking at what could be multiple challenges for some people and things that they can do with other veterans around, people they trust, people they know, and people they can depend upon.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing too that we do that's kind of unique to us is we try and incorporate music into everything we do at all of our events. And there's been studies showing that music helps reduce some of the symptoms of TBI. But the other reason I like to use music a lot is because a lot of us express ourselves through words, reading, writing, etc. And by having music there, that's something the community can partake in, and we can as well. And you never know, that guy or gal next to you at one of our concerts or events may have grown up with someone you knew, grew up a similar way, and that helps bridge that gap to bring you closer back home.
Oh, indeed. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk, don't you?
Yeah. And we're kind of unique in the way that we're grassroots. We're independent from the VA. We're self-funded for the most part, and we've done a lot of national stuff. We try and focus local, but we go anywhere we are needed, whether it's outside the scope of our mission or not.
Understand. You try to answer all the calls. So explain to me a little bit about where you think you stand now 5 years later, where you stand with Gr8ter veterans and what your needs are at the present time.
So the first one, of course, which is obvious to a lot of people out there, is funding, because it takes dollars to make the wheel go around.
Sure.
Ultimately, we need to get a building set up, which we're working on. There's organizations that have buildings they can donate. There's surplus property books. There's a lot of different means. So that's something we're looking at. A board's an ever-revolving process. We always have our minimum number per our nonprofit license on the board.
Sure.
But keeping members engaged, keeping them active, finding members in the community that aren't either already involved in something or that get the mission, see the picture, and get as excited as I do is a difficult task at times.
Oh, indeed. Well, we have to help you get that word out, and I hope this documentary does more toward that line. How can other people help you now, aside from the funding? What are some of the activities that you're trying to establish? For instance, your organization is having an October party coming up for Halloween, and you have an idea about how you're going to put that together.
Yeah, so we have Gordon Ewell Jr., so he's a combat vet, multiple combat related injuries on multiple tours. I believe the total number is 6. He has a book. We're in it. It's in the Library of Congress. So we bring him up to a lot of events. He's very motivational. And then a friend of ours, Athena Ives, she's a Marine combat vet, part of the Lioness program. And what we're doing with her, she's advocating for military sexual trauma reform in the way the investigations happen, and doing a lot of good in that side of things. So we're trying to focus on not just high profile speakers that are going to put money in the bank, but also people that are genuine and wholesome and believe in the mission, someone we can grow with it as they grow as well,
Sure.
and vice versa.
Perhaps in the time remaining, Nick, can you give us a couple examples of veterans you've been able to help thus far, even though you're not where you want to be eventually with the evac center? But what are some of the activities you're involved in now that you know have helped specific veterans?
We've helped veterans get service dogs, sometimes, most of the time, free or no cost. We've worked and mentioned to the Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers
Yes.
legislation regarding the PAWS Act, which would allow the VA to cover funding. We have some veteran housing stuff we're working on. We're actually going to be sitting down with our attorney here pretty soon to draft a letter. We looked it up. There's right around 96 members in the House, Congress, and Senate total. So we're going to send a certified letter to them requesting in-person Skype, teleconferencing, or phone call type meeting with either us or a designee of Gr8ter veterans closer to them, someone we know down there that'll represent us well.
Sure.
Because we feel if we can't hold our own accountable for what's going on in the vet community, then we got a bigger issue.
Understand that. How about locally in the Spokane area? What can people here in the local area do for you?
Support us, show up to our events, and help spread the word's the main thing. I mean, we've reached out to several local groups, and everyone kind of stays on Vet Island and does what they do and kind of doesn't work together as well. So that's why we're here at my home post, VFW Post 1474. We do a lot of events. When we have groups or people from out of town, we always try and do some kind of event here to help them keep the doors and the lights on. And
certainly. Nick, tell me a little bit about what your vision of the service center will be. What will be included in the service center itself?
All right, so what we want to do under the evac center is we want to have a cafe, bistro, lounge rec, service dog stuff, not just for a combat related injury, PTSD, stability, mobility, but also for anything involving the service dog, even basic training for
Sure.
a dog, gym, possibly even adaptive equipment for amputees and vets that suffer from paralysis, a claim officer, and several claim offices from the local and national organizations to help vets with everything. And we want to feature in all of our centers, not just here but ultimately nationally, we want to feature veteran products. So there's 20 veteran coffee companies, for example, I can think of offhand. So maybe have in the cafe, give a veteran a shot to own that independently and run veteran coffee, or feature veteran music, t-shirts, whatever.
Certainly. Absolutely. Well, we need to do more and more of that, getting that word out here locally. But I have to encourage you some more. From the standpoint of Spokane, it's great to know that you're here. It's great to know that you're trying and you're not giving up at all. And you're keeping that work ethic going.
Trying. It's a fight.
Absolutely. Well, thanks very much.
All right. Thank you, sir.